Have you ever looked up at the sky, seen a plane just soaring, totally silent, no engine, and just wondered, how is that even possible? I mean, these things can stay airborne for more than 15 hours. They can cross entire countries. Well, today we're going to dive into the absolutely beautiful and fascinating world of gliding, the science behind silent flight. Just look at that. It's pure elegance, right? This isn't about raw power or loud, roaring engines. Gliding is more like a dance with the atmosphere. It's all about using the invisible energy that's already in the sky to stay up. Honestly, it's about as close as we humans can get to flying just like a bird. And that really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? How does a heavy machine with absolutely no propulsion of its own just defy gravity for hours and hours? It kind of feels like it's breaking the laws of physics, but really it's just a masterful use of those laws, combined with some serious piloting skill. So let's break it all down. All right, first things first. To really get how a glider flies, we need to understand the machine itself. So let's take a quick look at the anatomy of a glider. A glider is just an incredibly efficient aircraft. You've got the fuselage, which is the main body where the pilot sits. Then you have these incredibly long, skinny wings, or Ls as you see here, and that is the key to its amazing performance. They're built for maximum lift with minimum drag. And then way at the back, you have the empennage, the tail assembly, which gives it all its stability and control. Okay, now let's hop into the pilot's seat and see how this all comes together. This is the command center. Yeah, it might look a little simple compared to a big jetliner, but trust me, every single control, every single instrument in here has an absolutely critical purpose. So let's look at the core controls. The pilot uses the control stick to, pitch the nose up or down and to roll into turns. The rudder pedals, which are sometimes called by their French name, the palaniere, they control the yaw, which keeps the glider's nose pointed perfectly through a turn. And check out the color coding. That blue handle is for the air brakes. We'll get to those later for landing. And the yellow handle is the super important cable release for takeoff.
In this instrument panel right here, this gives the pilot all the vital info they need. It shows their speed, their altitude, and most importantly, if the air all around them is going up or going down. You can think of these instruments as the pilot's eyes, turning all those invisible air currents into real data they can actually use.
So we have a plane with no engine. The next obvious question is, how does it even get into the air? Well, unlike a regular plane, a glider needs a little bit of help to get its journey started. There are basically two main ways to do it. First, you have the winch launch, which is a really powerful and super fast climb. And second, there's the aero tow, which is a much more gradual ride up behind a powered plane. Both get the job done, but believe me, they are very, very different experiences. A winch launch is a real thrill. You've got this long steel cable that's hooked up to a massive winch at the far end of the airfield, and it just yanks the glider forward. The acceleration is incredible, and in less than a minute, you are launched skyward at this crazy steep angle, pretty much like a kite in a strong wind. Then at the top, the pilot just pulls that yellow handle we talked about, the cable drops away, and bam, you're flying free. Now, the aero tow is a bit more like taking a scenic elevator. The glider is attached to a tow plane with a rope. The pilot's big job here is to fly in perfect formation right behind the tow plane, which is a serious test of skill. Once they get up to the right altitude, usually where they can find some good rising air, the glider pilot pulls the release, the rope falls away, and the real soaring begins. Okay, so the glider is free. It's silent. It's soaring. This is where the magic really happens. So how does a pilot stay up there for hours on end? Well, the answer isn't in the plane, it's actually in the air itself. The key is to find these things called ascendances or uplifts. They're basically columns of rising air, invisible elevators in the sky. A lot of times they form when the sun heats up the ground, which creates these warm bubbles of air called thermals that rise up. Glider pilots are kind of like detectives, always reading the clouds and the ground below, hunting for these pockets of lift. So, how do they find something they can't see? Well, they use an instrument called a variometer, which you see on the left. When that needle points up, or it starts making a happy beeping sound, it's basically screaming at the pilot, hey, you found an updraft. So the pilot immediately starts banking into a tight circle, just like that glider on the right, to stay inside that rising column of air, gaining precious altitude with every single turn. Okay, now here's a really fascinating, kind of nerdy bit of aerodynamics that's pretty unique to gliders. Because of those super long wings, when a pilot tries to roll into a turn, the aileron that goes down on the rising wing actually creates more drag, and it pulls the nose of the plane away from the turn. This is called adverse yaw. so the pilot has to actively use the rudder pedals to counteract it and keep the nose pointed perfectly into the turn. That's what makes the flight so smooth and efficient. And it's not a total free-for-all up there. Gliding has a very clear set of rules to keep everybody safe. Like when you're flying along a ridge, there are specific right-of-way rules. And when a bunch of gliders are sharing the same thermal, the first pilot who gets there sets the direction of the turn, and everybody else has to follow. It's really a cooperative, disciplined dance in the sky. Of course, what goes up must come down. But a glider is so incredibly good at staying up, how does a pilot actually convince it to come down for a precise landing? Well, the solution is a really clever piece of engineering: air brakes. The pilot uses that blue handle we saw in the cockpit to pop these panels, or spoilers, right out of the wings. As you can see, they completely disrupt the smooth airflow, basically spoiling the lift and adding a ton of drag. This lets the pilot control their descent angle with amazing precision, so they can land exactly where they want to. With the air brakes out, the pilot can make a nice, steep, controlled approach without accidentally picking up too much speed. They aim for their landing spot, flare just above the ground, and then touch down so gently on the glider's single main wheel, rolling to a quiet, peaceful stop. It's really the perfect end to a silent flight. So, from an assisted launch to hunting for invisible energy and then making a precision landing, gliding is just this remarkable blend of science, piloting skill, and pure artistry. On that note, have a fantastic day and happy flying. But hey, before you go, we always want to know what you're curious about. Let us know down in the comments what subject you'd like to see us break down in our next explainer. Thanks for watching.